Yo, what up, what up? Welcome back to the channel where we mix fitness and music. So in this one, we're going to talk about what is the best route for you to actually gain or increase muscle mass and decrease body fat, all right? Is that going to be through more calories burned, or is it going to actually be through a caloric deficit? So we'll actually talk about those two, and then we'll also tackle what will happen when you combine both together, all right? And you'll basically find out which one best fits you. So let's talk about the first one, all right? The caloric deficit. We've covered this plenty of times on this channel, what usually takes place when there is a caloric deficit. Caloric deficits tend to be things that'll stem from diets that people are following. It usually will come in definitely if someone's following an intermittent fasting program, or if someone's not actually focusing on 6 meals throughout the day. They probably have a time period throughout the day where they're not eating and they fall into that caloric deficit where their body is a little bit under the calories that's needed. For some people, they'll finish out their day in the caloric deficit, all right? Those are the individuals that I'm talking about. They're seeking to reduce their body fat. They want to either maintain their muscle or build their muscle, but at the same time, at the end of the day, their caloric maintenance is, let's say, for example, 2,000 calories, but they're only taking in 1,800, 1,500, and they go lower as time goes on. So I'm gonna tell you right now, whenever you go within a caloric deficit, what works best for your body is if you stay as close to your maintenance calories as possible. So if you require 2,000 calories to maintain your weight, if you were to take in 1,900 calories, you cool. 1,800 calories, you good. 17, it starts getting risky. 16, 15, 14, as you go lower and lower, you start playing with danger. All right, the way that the body reacts to the lower caloric amounts, it's not beneficial in the area of gaining muscle. If your body does not have what's necessary as far as calories, carbs, protein, and fat, if it's not present, how would your body try or even be able to produce muscle or maintain muscle? All your body's left to do within a caloric deficit, if you stay within that range for days on end, all your body's left to do is eventually utilize your muscle for sufficient source of fuel, or your body is just going to stick with, lost my train of thought. So it's actually going to utilize your muscle as a source of fuel, or within that caloric deficit, your body will burn some fat, but you don't actually stand that chance of building muscle. All right, you're not in a healthy state. All right, that's the best way to think about it. So what they usually say ties into low calorie amounts, injuries in the gym. And I still have my moments in time where I do it and where I find that it best fits me. But for you as an individual doing it for days and days and days on end, you might find that it is not the healthiest thing to do. You'll have a point in time where you might want to increase your caloric intake to more normalized amounts in order for you to see better results. So if you find that you start to decrease your calories way too low and you start to notice that your results on the scale are not really saying what you wanted to see, then you might find that if you go in the other direction, you might be better off, all right? So with this being said, I just gave you a bunch of like ins and outs of different things that'll take place when you're within a caloric deficit. You stand a chance of being in an unhealthy range, sometimes tired throughout the day. You stand a chance of injuries. They're just at a more higher rate of actually, getting injured or anything like that, just because you don't have what's needed or supposed to be readily available to your muscles, your body overall. That's when you're within a caloric deficit, all right? Now, let's say you drop your calories, your caloric maintenance is, let's say, 2,000, and you drop your calories to 1,900, and along with dropping your calories to somewhere around 1,900, you sometimes end up at the muscle maintenance level, 2,000, 21, 22, but you tried to initially drop it down to 1,900, but you ended up going a little bit over the caloric maintenance. But what happens on top of you taking in all these extra calories is you tackle it with your cardiovascular activity. Now, what I would tell people for the most part, if you're dealing with caloric burn over a caloric deficit, I support more of the caloric burn. Why? Because if you supply your body with all of the necessary calories and not put it in a deficit, focus more on the caloric burn, that'll usually put you in a position, a more healthier position. I just covered where Caloric deficits could lead to injuries. If your calories are right in place, your chances of getting injured is a lot smaller. All right, that's more likely where you want to be. If you're dealing with anything in regards to performance, let's say you want to better your numbers, you want to run faster, you want to lift more, you want to do anything of that nature, which is what most people go to the gym for, what most people want to tackle, that's going to come with better results along with a normal caloric amount that's taken in. All right, and that could vary depending on how many calories are spent throughout the day. It'll always vary with how many calories you're going to take in. All right. All I'm trying to give you is that if you were to drop into a deficit, there's certain things that you start playing with. The pros and cons that you play with more cons than pros. It's still something that can be done because you still have pros within the equation, but it's not to be done all the time. Something that's more likely to be done all the time is if you have a set amount of calories that you're having come in, you go to increase your caloric burn. All right, you'll be a more healthy individual. Your heart health will be on top. Everything will be right where you want it to be. Numbers, anything that you're testing, looking at results, anything of that nature, it'll all be documented and be more accurate to what your body can actually do and how your body can actually perform. Because sometimes you might find that if you're in a fasted state and you go out and you work on exercise and you look at performance, so you're trying to better your numbers, run faster, jump higher, something of that nature, you might find that in a fasted state, you don't see as good of results as when you actually have food or calories in your system. So it's in your best interest to choose the first route. If you're already taking in a certain amount of calories, let's say you're not really gaining any weight, maybe you gain a pound, all you need to tweak within that program right there, if you want to see a major change, is just increase your caloric burn. Do not touch the calories. Just increase the caloric burn. Having your calories right where they are currently will already dictate the type of results that you're going to see. Along with the cardio burn coming in is going to help you tackle any extra fat that might be tacked on. And with the extra calories that are already present within the body that you've been consuming, that'll be all what helps you to help build and also maintain your muscle. Now let's talk about what will actually happen when you combine the two. So the two ends up being some type of magical potion, all right? And when I say magical potion, that basically, it works for you and against you. It's somewhat like a gift and a curse, right? Because if anyone were to decrease their calories, right? And on top of decreasing their calories, they tackle the decreased calories with an intense cardiovascular program. When I say intense cardiovascular program, we're talking about at least an hour to 2 hours of cardio. We're talking about being done in a fasted state, high intensity, low intensity, moderate intensity. The person's just going all out and combining it with low calories. What will actually end up happening is you will lose weight very, very, very fast, but only in the beginning. Somewhere along the line, you're going to end up hitting a point where you'll hit what everyone knows to be as the plateau. The plateau, it fears no man. It's coming for you if you head down that route. So if you will go ahead and you say to yourself, I need to knock off 10 pounds, 8 pounds, 7, 6, 5 pounds immediately and as fast as I can. I don't care if it's fat. I don't care if it's muscle. I don't care if it's water. You'll find that that route may work great for you. Why? Because you're actually doing all of what the body knows could possibly happen one day. So it strategizes for it. So when you get out there and you run, you haven't supplied enough water, you haven't supplied enough food, you haven't really give your body what it needs, your body will take on the necessary strategies and do what's necessary in order to keep you running, functioning, and generating. If you get to that point where you carried out a lifestyle similar to what I'm describing right now, and you start to tell yourself, what is this skinny fat thing that I have going on? You'll start to learn and understand that your body will decide to utilize other sources for fuel other than fat when it's put in those states where it's at a low calorie point that is too low and the amount of exercise or physical activity is too high. It has to make sure you continuously live. It's not going to have you just wither into a skinny individual with no body fat and leave on all of the muscle. You're going to start losing other things such as muscle. And you also will face the other factors that I just mentioned, like injuries. Injuries it actually was number one for me, which all of what I'm telling you about, I'm speaking on hands-on experience. The hands-on experience that I'm speaking on is not something that has taken place years ago. It actually took place a few months ago. I put myself in a certain position. I've always tried to challenge my body. So dropping my calories and dropping my caloric intake for me and pushing up my cardiovascular activity was just a way of discipline that I decided to go through for a few weeks until I got myself back on track with the normal caloric amounts and the normal types of workouts. That eventually came over time. But what I would push on everybody out there is that there is a certain time and a certain place that everything is always able to be done. It more so depends on how long you play it out for. And you'll see that the longer it plays out for, the less likely it is to work for you. So in the beginning, everything works great. And what you end up seeing more so down the line is things and results start to thin out all the way up until the point where you don't see anything at all. And then you always know at that point you need to change something. But there's sometimes is a few days to weeks of time where you actually kind of wasted your time. If you were paying a trainer, you kind of wasted those sessions. If you weren't building strength and doing everything to get closer to your goal, you were stuck on an old way and you didn't really, change it the way that it should have been changed. At the time, it should have been changed, which left you with some wasting time and not much results gained. I'm gonna get up off this one. Y'all know what it is. Breaking it down entirely, putting all three right on the table. If you're gonna drop your calories, just know and understand, dropping the calories too low will always put your body in a state that could put you in vulnerable positions for many, many different things, such as injuries, low performance. It's not the route that you want to go down if you have the factor of adding exercise in the equation. If that's an open option, then go for it. I would more so prefer for you to push aside the caloric deficits, dropping them really, really low to bird levels, keep them pushed up closer to normal levels, and just add the caloric burn. It'll leave you in a more healthier state. You build your heart health along with the extra calories that are taken in. You'll be able to maintain your muscle. And if you hit the right numbers in the gym and do the right things, you'll also be able to build muscle. All right. And if you look at combining both of them, it's always able to be done. You'll find that it'll deliver results really, really fast, but just know and keep in mind that it might not be exactly what you're thinking. All right. When you drop 10 pounds after cutting calories and increasing your physical activity, the 10 pounds may not be the body fat you thought it was. It just might end up being some water weight, glycogen, a little bit of muscle, and you will tweak a little bit of fat. Let me get up off this one. I don't want to make it too long. Y'all know what it is. I'm going to get out. Yeah.